In my case, they don't know, and I don't tell them. They only know when you go to Andre and his orchestra, you will have an evening you will never forget. At 75, the world-renowned king of the waltz, Andre Rieu, has stunned fans, not with a grand performance or a new musical triumph, but with a deeply personal revelation. Known for enchanting millions with his breathtaking concerts and timeless melodies, Rieu has finally opened a door into the most private corner of his life. Behind the glittering stages, historic castles, and the haunting notes of his 1667 Stradivarius, lies a story more profound than any symphony he's ever played. Once I did too much. I made a copy of the Schönbrunn Castle in Vienna. What made this global icon drop the curtain on his emotions after decades of silence? And why now? In this rare, heartfelt confession, Rieu offers a glimpse into something that has quietly powered his legacy for nearly 5 decades. Prepare to see a side of Andre Rieu the world has never seen, and discover what truly lies at the heart of his music: the influence of family. Andre Rieu's emotional depth as a musician did not emerge from a place of abundance. It was born from absence. His childhood, though steeped in music, lacked warmth and emotional closeness. In a rare and poignant confession, Rieu revealed that he could not remember ever being hugged by his father. That stark image of a childhood without tenderness or physical affection speaks volumes about the emotional environment in which he was raised. His father, a prestigious conductor himself, brought structure and discipline into the home, but offered little in the way of nurturing love. As a result, Andre's early life was defined by emotional restraint, a sense that feelings were to be contained, not expressed. This emotional coldness shaped Rieu's inner world, leaving him with a longing he would carry for years. But instead of letting that void harden him, he chose to transmute it into music. His violin became a vessel for everything he could not say as a child. Where words had once been met with silence, notes became his voice. Through performance, Rieu began to explore and express the feelings he had never been given the freedom to feel growing up: longing, joy, affection, even vulnerability. The absence of emotional closeness in his formative years gave him a unique sensitivity to what others feel, and music became his way of both understanding and offering connection. This history serves to explicate his deep emotions in concerts. Rieu has often been described as a performer who wears his heart on his sleeve, and that emotional transparency is no pretense. It is a way to release the emotional cash that he could not spend as a child. But where rigidity characterized his upbringing, his performances throw open doors and windows to joy, warmth, and a humane spirit. Each melody is not just for technique, but rather an emotional act. His attempt to conjure an ambiance of love through sound that he could not have attained during his early years. His music is not only beautiful, it is beauty that heals him, and more importantly, his listeners. So it is not only Andre Rieu's childhood, but the emotional blueprint of his art. The soft craving for connection engraved in his early years did not wither away. Rather, it transformed into an obsession and a lifelong mission to endow others with what he never had. Where silence had reigned, he built bridges through his music. It is this odyssey from emotional deprivation to expressive generosity that offers depth to his oeuvre. While narrating the childhood story, Rieu reveals the actual genesis of his artistry human need, rather than mere talent or training, a need to feel and to be felt. And within every heartfelt performance, this need ends up being a gift that he offers to the world. But just as his childhood left a silent imprint on his music, another force, far quieter but infinitely warmer, would come to define its emotional soul. Love in Andre Rieu's success. At the core of Andre Rieu's extraordinary musical journey is a love that has quietly, yet powerfully, shaped his identity as an artist. His relationship with his wife, Marjorie, is not simply a personal matter, it is the emotional wellspring from which his art flows. While his concerts are grand, filled with color, rhythm, and joy, their emotional tone has always been grounded in something intimate, the enduring love he shares with Marjorie. He has often said that without her, his career would never have taken flight. Not because she built it logistically, but because she gave him the emotional clarity, stability, and strength to express something deeper than music: connection. Through their love, Rieu found not only personal fulfillment, but also the emotional truth that has come to define his performances. Their relationship began when they were children, meeting at ages 11 and 13, and grew into a partnership defined by profound emotional trust and shared life experiences. Unlike fleeting romance, theirs has matured into a bond that anchors Rieu's inner world, allowing him to access and convey the universal feelings that music so often seeks to express. The tenderness of a waltz, the joy in a violin solo, the ache in a nostalgic melody. These aren't just technical achievements, they are extensions of a life lived with deep affection. Rieu's music is, in essence, a reflection of the love he lives every day. It's this sincerity that elevates his concerts from performance to emotional experience. When he plays, it feels real because it is real, drawn from the quiet, enduring love he returns to after the spotlight fades. Though most of the time the world of serious classical music is stiff and stern in itself, it is one of the few areas in which the work of Rieu will always stand out, because it is life, romantic, joyful, and very human. While most classical musicians promote accuracy and tradition, Rieu's music has been led by feeling, warmth, and openness brought by love. Love for Marjorie had already defined his happiness in life, but would also otherwise have become a filter through which he sees his artistry. It allows him to convey more than just melodies, it allows him to impart meanings. These soloists know how audiences immediately respond to that. They mirror their emotions, the love they have known, the love they have lost, and the love they long for. Thus, Rieu's music acts as an emotional translator, and love is the language he speaks better than any other. For Andre Rieu, love is not typically a prop in his successful story, but rather an inspirational entity fueling the creative fire. With Marjorie as a rock-solid companion, Rieu has gained something priceless as an artist, an indeclinable, repeatable truth. Each time he steps on the stage, that emotional grounding goes with him. It's in the way he smiles at the audience, the way he lifts his bow, and the way he lingers on a note just long enough to stir the heart. Marjorie's lifelong love will still breathe new life into all of his performances. It makes his work more than entertainment, an intimate gift to the ears of those listening. Thereby has found for himself a big muse in love, but continues to share it with the world through music. It's Andre Rieu, the woman behind Rieu's life. In a world where fame often demands that personal lives be laid bare, Marjorie Rieu has carved out a path entirely her own. As the wife of one of the world's most beloved classical musicians, Marjorie has remained remarkably private, choosing not to stand in the glow of the spotlight that surrounds Andre Rieu. While her husband performs to thousands and travels the globe as a public figure, she remains almost entirely absent from the stage, interviews, and red carpets. This absence, however, is not a retreat. It is a deliberate, graceful choice that reflects her character, humble, grounded, and quietly strong. Marjorie has expressed in rare interviews that she has no desire to be defined by her husband's fame. She values her own identity, her own space, and the quiet stability that a private life offers. By stepping back from the public eye, she has helped preserve a sacred part of their relationship, an inner world untouched by performance, press, or public expectation. In doing so, she has maintained a protective space where intimacy, respect, and simplicity remain central. Her invisibility to the public is not a lack of involvement, but a sign of how much she cherishes authenticity over applause. This choice also served as a vital balancing act in their long marriage. While Andre's work keeps him in a perpetual presence of and connection with the audience, Marjorie's calm presence supplies the emotional balancing weight to the dramatic flux of professional life. Perhaps the most ironic thing about it is that her shyness, or quiet withdrawal from the spotlight, provides stability and grounding to an otherwise life-involving travels, interviews, and a never-ending round of fanfare. That lifestyle, in some sense, anchors them with privacy. It allows Andre to fully play his part up there, knowing that when he leaves that stage, he comes back to a person who cannot be dazzled by the show, but is deeply invested in the man behind it. Most of all, a quiet presence can remind otherwise unquiet lives that influence doesn't always have to be loud or visible to be real. Andre's life may not have the number of public appearances or acknowledgement, but beyond the walls, the unswerving strength she provides is strong enough to anchor a mighty marriage. As one whose profile blazes in the public eye, and with the other whose life retreats into a peaceful retreat. Such partnerships create unusual and beautifully rare balance. Marjorie would never seek attention, but her staying out of the limelight has allowed Andre to have something invaluable: home without spectacle and love without publicity, but rather based on trust. Marjorie's support beyond music. Long before Andre Rieu became a global musical icon, Andre Rieu was already laying the foundation that would enable his success. In the early years of their marriage, when Andre was developing his career and uncertain about how to turn his artistic passion into a sustainable profession, it was Marjorie who carried the financial responsibilities. She provided the household income, ensuring stability while Andre focused on refining his craft. This practical support was more than an act of love. It was a calculated and selfless commitment to a long-term vision. Her early sacrifices allowed Andre the freedom to grow artistically without the pressure of economic survival. As Andre's musical ambitions took shape, Marjorie stepped fully into a leadership role that extended far beyond personal support. She became the primary manager of their expanding operations, coordinating travel logistics, handling budgets, and overseeing the day-to-day structure of the business that would grow alongside Andre's fame. Every tour, contract, and production detail passed through her careful planning. Her ability to manage complex moving parts ensured that their ventures remained efficient and financially viable, even as the scale of their work multiplied dramatically. Marjorie's methodical and orderly way of doing things demonstrated a substantial comprehension not only of creative requirements, but also of the realities of business. The system she set up made the team function like a well-oiled machine, dependable, repeatable, and scalable. She had a finger on the pulse when it came to legal agreements, international arrangements, staffing, and timelines. Her style of management was proactive and controlling, which kept the kind of operational chaos that often undermines artistic endeavors at bay. It was the clarity she had in conducting operations that made Andre's performances glide from city to city, from country to country. Even as the company expanded and responsibilities began to shift towards their son and others on the team, Marjorie's influence never faded. The infrastructure she created to support the operations has continued to be the backbone of their production company. Andre has said many times that his ability to devote himself entirely to music came through the structure that Marjorie had set in place. Her work is not seen by the audience, yet it is palpable through every flawless production, every sold-out tour, and the diligent execution of every logistical detail. She didn't just assist in a career, she methodically built a business empire with discipline, intelligence, and relentless consistency. How Marjorie shaped Rieu's style. One of the most defining moments in Andre Rieu's artistic evolution came not from a conservatory or rehearsal hall, but from a simple act at home, Marjorie sharing her father's cherished record collection. Edgar Kochmann, Marjorie's father and a Jewish refugee who fled Berlin in 1933, had brought with him a carefully preserved selection of romantic and classical recordings. These albums, filled with old-world charm, light waltzes, and sentimental melodies, would go on to influence not just Rieu's listening habits, but the entire course of his musical identity. When Marjorie introduced these recordings to Andre, she unknowingly handed him the key to the emotional dimension of classical music he had long been searching for. Among the pieces that captivated Rieu was the Sportpalast Waltzer, a sweeping and nostalgic waltz that sparked a creative revelation. Unlike the rigid academic compositions he had studied in his formal training, these recordings conveyed warmth, elegance, and emotional accessibility. They painted pictures of joy, love, and longing in a way that deeply resonated with him. It was in this moment that Rieu realized his true musical calling wasn't in the highbrow world of elite classical performance. It was in bringing the emotional heart of music to life for everyday audiences. That single introduction helped shift his approach from traditional execution to emotional storytelling through melody. This was a turning point in his career. Inspired by the music shared by Marjorie, Rieu began to carve a repertoire inspired by those light classical works, romantic evergreens, and nostalgic waltzes that felt more like emotion than mere formalities. He transitioned from austere performances to lesses that appreciated beauty, connection, and evoking emotions together. This resulted in a signature style that encompassed theatricality, which yet had musical integrity, allowing audiences to properly not just hear, but also feel. The artistic DNA of that old collection became a blueprint for what we would eventually coin the Andre Rieu experience. The mood and emotion of Rieu's music are unmistakably shaped today, owing to Marjorie's hidden influence, conferring some form of authority on him as an artist. By handing down the soundtrack for her childhood, she initiated the breakthrough towards artistic freedom that enabled him to set himself apart in a world smitten by formality and tradition. Marjorie's passing of her father's far-flung and time-ravaged collection was a gesture of artistic redemption. It now reverberates through concert halls, waltzes, and into the hearts of millions warmed by the emotions of Rieu's music. In shaping his ear, she helped him find his voice. But the influence Marjorie had on his sound was only the beginning. What came next would expose the emotional engine driving it all. Andre Rieu's emotional confession. At the age of 75, Andre Rieu, the world-renowned Dutch violinist and conductor, offered a rare and deeply personal confession that revealed the emotional heartbeat behind his life's work. Known for his sweeping waltzes and joyful performances, Rieu surprised many by publicly sharing the central truth of his life, that the greatest love he has ever known and the true source of his strength is his wife, Marjorie. It was not the accolades, the standing ovations, or even his beloved Stradivarius that gave his life meaning. but the unwavering love he's shared with Marjorie for nearly 5 decades. In a moment of profound sincerity, Rieu admitted that despite his international fame and artistic success, everything he achieved was built on the foundation of that love. His words were not grand or rehearsed, but deeply human. Without her, I would be nothing. This confession wasn't just romantic, it was revelatory. It peeled back the curtain on a man who has spent his life projecting joy and passion and showed the deeply vulnerable soul beneath. For Rieu, music and love are inseparable. The waltzes he conducts are not just performances, they are love letters echoing the emotional support he found in Marjorie, a stark contrast to what he lacked growing up. Rieu's confession opened a little into his childhood, which he portrayed as barren of all emotions. He shockingly revealed that he had never been hugged by his father. Growing up in an authoritarian and often cold environment, Rieu did not enjoy the warmth and affection that most people take for granted. It is a mark that remained forever. Instead of becoming bitter or distant, he chose to pour those unfulfilled emotional needs into his music. Through soaring melodies, he tried to create the love, comfort, and connection he missed as a child, and ultimately found later in life. It reformed his career into not just a story of talent or dedication, but also of healing. Rieu didn't just confess his love for Marjorie by sharing his truth, he unveiled the emotional architecture of his art. His warm and sincere music is no longer only fancy entertainment, but a reflection of a man who learned how to turn pain into beauty and solitude into shared enjoyment. As such, it reminded the world that love fully embraced can prove to be the strongest force both for self-recovery and creative expression. The remarkable musical journey. Andre Rieu's musical journey is a testament to the power of vision, innovation, and showmanship in the classical music world. With more than 12 million CDs and DVDs sold globally, Rieu has earned a place among the most commercially successful classical artists of all time. Often dubbed the King of Waltz, he has transformed the way classical music is experienced by blending tradition with theatrical flair. His concerts consistently draw tens of thousands of fans, some performances reaching audiences of 50,000 in a single evening. An extraordinary feat for a genre often viewed as niche or reserved, Rieu's artistic appeal lies in his ability to make the classical music accessible, joyful, sécurseful, and communal. Rather than presenting performances in the traditionally formal, reserved style of the classical world, Rieu crafted an experience that is celebratory, immersive, and emotionally engaging. He infused his shows with humor, audience interaction, grand visuals, and uplifting repertoire, turning concert halls into ballrooms and passive listening into participatory celebration. This stylistic approach opened the doors of classical music to a broader audience and helped redefine it as a living, evolving art form rather than a museum piece. His stage presence rests upon the 1667 Stradivarius violin, an instrument with historical significance and tremendous value. And yet, it's not just the instrument. I must admit that it is Rieu's phenomenal skill and strong emotion that breathes life into that violin. It is even more than an instrument. It has become a symbol of Andre Rieu's art and his dedication to the high standards of musicianship. In every concert, he shows us what a masterclass is, where technique and performance finally give way to the beauty of time, rhythm, and audience responsiveness. Very few can rival. His magnetic charm has turned his performances into world events and has earned him a devoted international following. Arguably, the greatest conventional intervention built by Rieu is the establishment of the Johann Strauss Orchestra. Founded in 1987 with just a dozen members, it has grown into a mighty assembly of some 130 musicians under Rieu's baton. It has become a cultural phenomenon endowed with sumptuous settings, rich orchestral arrangements, and scintillating performances. Rieu uses it to project his artistic vision to the world, marrying centuries-old compositions to modern-day spectacle. Rieu's ascendance from local violinist to global musical superstar is a credit to his ventilation of the possibilities of what classical music can be and the way it can be shared with the world. Building the empire. The rise of Andre Rieu's musical empire began with a simple but ambitious idea: to bring classical music to the masses in a way that felt alive, joyful, and accessible. In 1987, Rieu founded the Johann Strauss Orchestra with just 12 musicians determined to break the boundaries of the traditional concert hall. At a time when classical music often felt rigid and exclusive, Rieu envisioned performances that were celebratory, theatrical, and engaging. The orchestra's very name was a nod to the king of the waltz himself, setting the tone for the kind of music and atmosphere Rieu intended to create, one where elegance met entertainment. As the orchestra gained popularity, its growth was swift and impressive. What began as a modest ensemble quickly expanded into a large-scale operation, eventually encompassing over 130 musicians and technical staff. With global tours, elaborate productions, and increasing audience demand, the Johann Strauss Orchestra evolved from a passion project into a sophisticated musical enterprise. This transition required more than artistic vision. It needed careful structure, leadership, and operational coordination. That's where Andre Rieu stepped in, not as a figure behind the curtain, but as one of the key architects of the empire's foundation and functionality. Marjorie's professionalism and efficacy in her role are very strategic within the growth of the orchestra, in the sense that she concentrated on ensuring that the business was capable of fulfilling all his artistic inclinations, while Andre remained the artistic face of it all. While managing the schedules, she helped coordinate international logistics and played a big part in establishing the infrastructure to keep performances at this scale happening. The use of her long-term vision and organization made it possible for the orchestra to make different shifts, performing first in smaller venues and then in stadiums across the globe. Behind each sold-out show lies a blueprint she helped design precisely, efficiently, and made for impact on the world stage. Thus, due to dual leadership, Andre, at the helm of creativity, Marjorie managing operations, Johann Strauss and his orchestra became more than a musical group. They became a brand. Their concerts have become associated with world-class entertainment, and the international success of this organization stands as a testament to the mix of artistry and business smarts that run this organization. The making of this orchestra and the story about it is not merely the tale of a dream of a violinist. Indeed, it is strategic growth in action. Under Marjorie's structured guidance, what once had started on a low note with just 12 musicians based in Maastricht has turned into a music institution of world standing that still enchants audiences across continents. A musical inheritance. As Andre Rieu's global success grew, the need for strong, capable leadership within his organization became increasingly important. That leadership emerged from within the family itself. His two sons, Pierre and Marc, each took on roles that reflected not only their individual talents, but also the evolving needs of the family's musical enterprise. Their involvement marked a natural progression of the Rieu legacy, from a founder-driven operation to a multi-generational business built on collaboration and expertise. Pierre Rieu, the younger son, assumed a central role in the business, serving as vice president of Andre Rieu Productions. He oversees the technical and logistical aspects of live performances, including production coordination, tour management, and stage operations. As the primary point of contact for many of the company's large-scale productions, Pierre ensures that concerts run smoothly from venue to venue across the globe. His organizational precision and hands-on approach have made him an indispensable part of the team, reinforcing the operational reliability of the Rieu brand. Unlike Andre Rieu, who preferred a more independent course, he has made his own trail, that of a visual artist. He is not the daily one running the business, but he complements the general Rieu cultural presence by displaying his works in some concerts. His expression as an artist adds another layer of artistry to the public identity of the family, widening the cultural space from that of music. Marc kept outside the operational nucleus of the company, and this is a mark of the flexibility of the family as regards dealing with generation involvement, but still encouraging contribution some sort of individual direction. Together, Pierre and Marc complete the professional diversification of the Rieu heritage. Their distinct functions, one in executive logistics and the other in artistic presentation, reinforce the ability of this family to evolve without tainting the integrity of the brand. Even as Andre continues to lead from the stage, this next generation will make sure that the vision stays true, firmly rooted and wide. Their involvement is not a symbolic one. By any means, it is functional, strategic, and crucial to the continuity of one of the most successful classical music enterprises in the world. But behind every strategic role and creative contribution lies something even more powerful holding it all together: Rieu's family life. For Andre Rieu, the concept of family extends far beyond the traditional boundaries of home life. From the very beginning of his career, he has treated his personal and professional lives not as separate compartments, but as intertwined expressions of the same values, connection, trust, and shared experience. While many performers maintain a strict division between the stage and the home, Rieu has built a life where both coexist in harmony. His wife, children, and grandchildren are not distant observers of his career, but are integrated into the fabric of his daily journey. Whether on tour at home in Maastricht or preparing for a concert, family is always present, not in the background, but as a central source of continuity and meaning in his life. Touring, for many artists, can be a lonely and exhausting lifestyle, marked by endless airports, hotel rooms, and stretches of time spent away from loved ones. But for Rieu, it has become the very opposite. He has long embraced the idea of bringing family along with him on the road, creating an environment where life and work are inseparable in the best possible way. Spending up to 250 days a year traveling for performances, Rieu has found a rhythm that includes his family as part of the adventure. This lifestyle has allowed for an uncommon closeness. Meals shared between sound checks, birthdays celebrated in different countries, and countless memories built not in one place, but across the globe. Rather than viewing touring as a sacrifice, the Rieu family has turned it into a collective experience, a moving home where love, laughter, and music travel side by side. As a defining characteristic of this family-centered approach, Rieu believes in having two families. On one side is his biological family wife, Marjorie, their children and grandchildren, who offer emotional grounding and lifelong companionship. On the other hand is the musical family members of his Johann Strauss orchestra and their touring crew, many of whom have worked alongside him for decades. Rieu sees neither of the two as superior to each other. The orchestra is more than just a group of professionals. It's a community held together by trust, mutual respect, and one common purpose. Rehearsals and performances are not just about music, but about togetherness, camaraderie backstage, the traditions they've built, and the culture of care in the group, all show what sort of family have the Rieus beyond bloodlines. That gives a rare quality to life outside the spotlight for Andre Rieu's special life, not simply of success, but of fulfillment with the company of people who matter, serving something they all believe in together. The Rieus have not built a career. They have built a lifestyle stacked in shared experience, emotional bonding, and legacy. In a rehearsal hall or on a quiet evening after a concert, the rhythm of their lives beats more than music alone. It beats with values that bind them together. This attests to the fact that true success is not only found in applause or achievement, but rather that which can be built with loved ones into something beautiful and lasting. If this emotional journey through Andre Rieu's life touched your heart, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more inspiring stories, and leave a comment below. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you're curious to dive deeper into the world of celebrity, click on the next video now showing on your screen. There's so much more to uncover. See you there!